Dom of Diamonds here. I just said Dom of Hyman's. I think I'll edit that out. Hey there, this is Ina from Tarot Tarot, and I have a couple of decks that I bought a long time ago, way before I started my channel, and it was at a time when I had the idea of starting a channel, and I thought these are both vintage sealed decks, so I will wait until I start a channel to open them. So I've had these decks for a really long time, and they've just been sitting there waiting to be opened, but it's fine. I've had other decks to keep me company instead. But the one that I wanted was the Prager Tarot, and I cannot remember how I heard about it. I probably randomly came across it, just looking up different interesting decks. And so I kept my eye out for quite some time before I found a couple actually at decent prices. They can be really expensive, more than what I'd be willing to pay. So I held out. Now I found a couple for a similar price. One was in the States, in a bookstore in Atlanta, Georgia, and the other one was in Argentina. Both were on eBay. No, the Argentinian one was on eBay. The one in Atlanta, Georgia just came up on the bookstore's listing, so I was lucky to find that one. Now, they were both similar prices, but the one in Georgia did not have a box that was in good shape. The cards were still wrapped, but the box was in terrible shape. And the one in Argentina, the cards are wrapped and the box is in good shape, but the problem was that he didn't want to ship just one deck, so I couldn't just buy the deck that I wanted. I had to pick out another one, and so I ended up with the Jeu de Tarot, or the Nouveau Tarot, Tarot Nouveau, I suppose, by Grimaud. And so I will talk about this one. I had a request from Ellen at Moomin Tarot to go through this one because she was curious as to what it looked like. And I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. I really just wanted to open them up and talk a little bit about them. This deck, the Prager Tarot, was I believe made in 1980. And the box was in almost pristine shape, but look at the very first thing I did when I got it. Frickin' scratched it with my thumbnail, but it's fine. It's not totally pristine, and it's still in really good shape. This was originally published by AGM, and now has a guidebook by Stuart Kaplan, which my understanding is that this guidebook has nothing to do with reality. It's all marketing. It has something to do with the folklore of Prague and Chaldean astrology, none of which have a single thing to do with this deck. A long time ago, whenever I was first looking into this deck, I read through the old tarot forums and things like that, and found that this doesn't seem to align with any folklore specific to Prague. It was created by a citizen of Prague, an archaeologist named Jan Baucek. As far as I know, that's about how it's pronounced in Czech. Prague being the capital of the Czech Republic and a former capital of Bohemia when Bohemia existed. So there is art style that could be obviously influenced by Prague art style, but there isn't necessarily Czech folklore in this deck. And there's absolutely nothing to do with Chaldean astrology. So I'm not even going to look at this, I don't think, because I don't think it has anything to do with the deck itself. And I don't even think it names the artist or the fact that he is an archaeologist who was interested in all sorts of ancient world cultures, specifically throughout Europe. So the influence here is influence from throughout Europe, not just Prague. So here's this. I might find a way to maybe keep that stamp. That would probably be a good idea. But AGM, knowing how to make cards for so long, like they've got just nice, easy open cards, which I just love. Look at that. That's how you make a deck of cards, man. I've done an AGM love post before, and I just really adore their cards. I want to try to remove this without damaging that stamp. Got my very delicate sewing scissors, which seem to be good at getting under the plastic without damaging cards. This is some pretty old plastic. I'll look at the date. I think it's 1982 or 84. that these were made. Now I just want to very carefully lift this. Try to keep that stamp intact. Maybe I'll just cut around it. Okay, plastic removed, stamp intact. I will cut that away from the plastic and save it in the box. And this is 1980. So a fairly old vintage deck. These can be a bit pricey, but they are findable at decent prices. I don't remember exactly what I paid, but keep in mind that I'm cheap, so I probably didn't pay as much as some of the prices you see. Now this is a fairly traditional Tarot deck, which only has 54 cards, because it only has 4 of the numbers. Now normally in a Tarot deck, that means it has 7 through 10, or sometimes 5 through 10, something like that. So maybe more than 54 in that case. In this one, it has 1 through 4. Which is not traditional. And I think that's great for divination though, honestly, because if you use 1 as the spark of an idea, 2 as the planning, maybe collaboration stage, 3 as the creation, bringing it into material existence, and 4 as completing the project, or completing whatever the thing is, I think you could still use this for divination. And I got it because I love the art so much. And it's clearly influence. You know, the deck was made in 1980, so probably this art was made sometime in the 70s. Jan Bautzek was alive until 2020. And so he would have been kind of in his prime in the 70s, I would assume. But you can see there's a lot of, you know, influence from the more esoteric and even Golden Dawn tarots. But it's based on Marseille tradition. Papes is really interesting. She's got this black veil behind her and then a veiled face, which is very interesting. She has the moon, and the keys have long been symbolic of the papacy, but are more emphasized in the more esoteric decks. Now the Empress, it's thought that this is the back of her chair, although it is a slightly different color than the chair arms. And it is the same color as this little bit on her head. So some feel like her head is shaved, which is a possibility, or that could be her hair. She has some interesting symbols. This fire symbol, I believe it is, and then a more typical moon. And the 7 stars are likely the 7 sisters or the Pleiades. There's a misconception that this emperor is supposed to be Stuart Kaplan. It's not. There is a deck where the emperor is Stuart Kaplan, and I'm forgetting which one it is right now. I can picture the art, but I'm not remembering what it is. Now here we have a fairly feminine looking pope, in my opinion, which is pretty cool. This brings up something interesting. A lot of the depictions of the lover card where we have a woman in the nude and a woman who's clothed, and they're said to be a choice between the sacred and the profane. Often it's assumed that the nude woman is the profane and the clothed woman is the sacred, but it's the other way around. If you go back to Renaissance thought, all sacred figures were pure and in the nude, which is exemplified here by this cosmic figure of Cupid. And so the need to cover up your shame is profane. So that's something interesting to keep in mind. A lot of times the nude woman in more modern decks is portrayed as the temptress. Now I don't think either one of these represents an actual woman. I think they represent concepts of a choice between the sacred and profane, or perhaps higher duty and earthly obligation. Another possible non-binary or feminine charioteer. It's pretty cool. He looks kind of masculine to me, but also wearing flowers and makeup. Love that. And then the more modern esoteric black and white steeds. Wow, Justice has kind of a Statue of Liberty look to her. Maybe it's just the color that reminds me. It's probably based on some other statue that would be more familiar. to Jan Bautzek. I'm honestly not sure what these numbers are, or these letters in the corner. I think I read about it somewhere and I have forgotten. I just really love the art in this deck though, it's so cool. Do you appreciate that he looks appropriately horrified at his situation? He's got the money coming out of his pockets, representing treachery, possibly originating with Judah and the coins he was paid for his betrayal. This is a pretty great death card. Lovely temperance. This is super cool. Like I mentioned before, it has been a long time since I've read up on this deck, so I'll have to do some more reading up on it. Now that I've finally opened it, and this is my first time looking through the whole thing. Oh wow, this is neat. That is visually striking, isn't it? Aw, that's a really sweet sun. Love that. I like their little rabbit holes they're coming out of. And these letters very well may have an esoteric meaning. This deck was for sure made with some esoteric intent by Jan Bautzek. As an example, the crocodile, which I think comes from Atea. That's a fantastic traditional gesture, though. I love it. Doing the kind of neener gesture with his hand. No spoon like a traveler, but he does have a pack. That's great. And, oh, he was placed before the world. Oh, interesting. I will have to look up what all these mean. Really cool. Ouroboros. And the eagle and angel, oh, I have switched places as well as the lion and bull. All right, you have salamanders for fire, and the Ace of Wands. So the elemental aspects are portrayed. It is a pip deck, but just with random designs that I think are gorgeous. So it goes up until 4, as I mentioned. There's a valet. Very fiery knight. Look at her fancy high heels. Very cool dress. Both are in leonine thrones. Leo, I guess, being fire. He's got a sweet mustache. Very 70s. Cups are water. We've got an arc here. And some of them have traditional meanings. He has a fish on his helmet. Pisces throne. And here's where it gets a little interesting. I love this so much. Snakes are one of my very favorite animals. And this card is probably one of the big reasons I bought this deck. But I think swords are actually earth in this, although that could be debatable. Personally, I don't emphasize elements too much, so I think you could fudge that a little bit. These do seem pretty earthy. Oh, this is cool. Kind of a Zorro looking valet. Apologies, I just realized that my camera had been syncing, so if that was at a weird angle up until now, sorry about that. Got bullhorns on this knight. And we have Taurus thrones. So yeah, probably intended to be earth in this deck. And coins are air, which is not something I don't think I've seen before. Has anyone else seen a deck where coins are air? I've definitely seen swords as earth before. I don't remember seeing coins as air, but let me know. Like I said, I don't pay that much attention to elementals. I do incorporate them. If they're in front of me, I might interpret with them. This is super cool. This is a familiar image. It's one that's often portrayed. You can see the air association there. Oh, super neat. See what I mean about how lovely this art is? 100% the reason that I bought this. And we have eagles on the thrones there, which are not a zodiac association. So maybe they weren't meant to be zodiac. Maybe there is an eagle association with one of the zodiac signs that I'm not aware of. Let me know if you know the answer to that. All right, and we've got a couple of blank cards. And here's the back. And again, that is the Prager Tarot by AGM, by the artist and archaeologist Jan Boutsek from Prague. Next, before I lose my light, let's open up this Tarot Nouveau, or Jeu de Tarot, which is just a game of tarot in French. This is supposedly vintage as well, but I don't know if that, well, it is 1983. Look at that. That was right on the outside. So the new tarot. Sometime, oh, this just means marked on 4 corners. And those are the suits. This uses French suits. And sometime in the 1700s, the Marseille Tarot fell out of favor for tarot games, and it had a couple or few decades of obscurity before it was resurrected by French occultists as a divinatory tool. Now, of course, it had been used for cartomancy prior to that. Humans will divine with everything. So it's not like it was never used for divination prior to that. But it was resurrected as an esoteric tool later in the 1700s. And during that time, other tarot card games came into favor. And in the mid-1800s, we got the bourgeois tarot, which depicts scenes of the bourgeois or petty bourgeois life. And that originated in Germany. And there was a version of it, I think called the Black Forest Tarot or something like that, that stayed popular in Germany. And then the Tarot Nouveau became more popular in France and then elsewhere too. And these days it's referred to mostly just as Jeu de Tarot, or the game of tarot. And I have no idea what order this is going to be in. Here we have the Cavalier of Hearts, King of Clubs, King of Spades, Queen of Clubs, Queen of Spades, Valet of Clubs. And you can see what I mean by marked on 4 corners. And they're all reversible. Valet of Spades, Cavalier of Clubs, Cavalier of Spades. I'll have to reorder these later. These are really nice. Nice and glossy. They're thin but really sturdy. And some of them are in black and white, so I was hoping I'd get a color version. And I did, and they're so lovely. They're kind of Technicolor. King of Hearts here. King of Diamonds. Queen of Diamonds. I think it's Dame de Diamond, Dame of Hearts. Yeah, I think the D is for Dame or Dame. So yeah, Dame of Diamonds here. Valet of Hearts. Valet of Diamonds. Cavalier of Diamonds. And now these are going to be in all different orders, it looks like. So these are the majors. Well, this is one of the majors. And there are meanings to them. So most of them are, the upward facing one is more cosmopolitan. And then the reversed is more of a country scene. And I'm going to pull up, if you look on the Wikipedia page for Bourgeois Tarot, that does list some meanings. So cards 2 through 5 are the 4 ages. Cards 6, 7, 8, and 9 are the 4 times of day. So here 8, we have evening. So you can see how that would work really well actually for cartomancy, even though it isn't often used for that. Let's see. 10 and 11 are the 4 elements. 12, 13, 14, 15 are the 4 leisures: shopping, dance, open air, and visual arts. 16 through 19 are the 4 seasons. 20 is called the game, both cards and bowling. And then 21 and 1 are folly. 21 is the collective, 1 is the individual. So that's pretty cool. I will keep this kind of pulled up to refer to again. I believe this is, I don't know what this is, because I don't think you would have a joker and a fool, the fool being the exception. So I'm going to hold this out and we'll figure out what that is. Number 9 is night. So this is returning home after hunting. And the music room, perhaps? I don't know if these line up with the meanings that are on this Wikipedia page, because these scenes do vary based on the deck and the card maker. But you can see that it looks like it's supposed to be night. And remember, the earlier cards are the ages. So 2 is childhood, and we have children playing at the park and boys playing at the fete. So I think that means boys pretending to be in the army. And then children playing at the park. Ten are earth and air. So earth is the mine and air is the shepherd in the mountains. 3 is youth. These are 3 maidens in town clothes and a group of youths in the park. And youths, I think, are not married but marrying age. 11 are water and fire. So for fire is the picnic. Digestion, fire, okay. And then boating is water. Four is maturity at the office and woman with children. 12 is one of the 4 leisures. This one is a dance, so we have a folk dance and a soiree. Honestly, this could totally be used for reading. Like, it's so readable. I actually really love this. 5 is old age. We have a grandmother and a grandfather. 13 is one of the 4 leisures. Shopping and the store. I'm guessing this is shopping. And that's the store, or the other way around, I'm not really sure. I'll have to look up what the difference between those two is in that time. And it could also be that that picture is slightly different than the one referenced on this page. 6 is one of the 4 times of day. This is morning. We have breakfast and mowing the wheat. "14 is one of the 4 leisures. Open air and hunting. Oh, I'm sorry. The leisure is open air, and what's pictured are hunting and fishing. And let's go back to shopping. Yeah, shopping, we had the store and the village store, so that makes more sense. I just wasn't reading it right. Number 13. So this is a cosmopolitan store and a village store, country store, and they're both shopping. Which is one of the 4 leisures. 7 is afternoon, rest in a field, and discussions in the parlor. Certainly some class differences there. The 4 leisures, this is visual arts, photography, and painting. "16 is one of the seasons. Sheep shearing and gardener in the park. And we've got French suits. 17 is summer at the races and drying wheat. "18 is autumn, threshing wheat, and at the market. "19 is winter, skating, and the vigil, which I assume means in country life when you're kind of closed up indoors doing indoor chores rather than outdoor ones. We've got some spinning and wheedling happening here. "20 is the game, and it's the only card that's called the game, or that's in the section of game. And so we've got bowling and cards. "21, both 1 and 21 are the folly. 21 is the collective folly. And we have a military parade. That's interesting, referring to that as a folly. And the carnival. Super interesting. And 1, I guess this would be equivalent to the magician. So this is 0. This is the fool and the exception. So yeah, 0 isn't accounted for in these meanings. So 1 is also a folly, but this is the individual folly. And we have a sad clown and a ballerina. So I wonder if by folly they mean entertainment or something like that. Got some information on the Ace of Clubs. These are from cards designed in 1848, looks like. And let's just go through and see if we have any more majors to look at. And I think we went through all of them. And then here are some rules to tarot in French. And this lovely plaid card back. Oh, this deck is nice. It's slippery and smooth, glossy, but not like super glossy. You're seeing the camera light just because I have almost no light left in this room. I am by a west-facing window, but it's cloudy out and it's late. But yeah, the cardstock, like I said, is is thin in a good way, but very sturdy. So yeah, I think this deck would actually be a joy to work with. It would require learning a whole new system, but only to a certain extent. I think a lot of the scenes are descriptive enough that with just a small amount of study, you could easily get meaning out of them. It would definitely be one that you would want to do reversals for. So yeah, I think this is a fantastic cartomancy deck. And it's beautiful too. And you can get them for not very expensive. Even the vintage copies are pretty easily gotten. Some of these older decks will have rougher edges, but this really doesn't. It has nice smooth edges, rounded corners, and it is lovely. It's a great deck. So again, this is the Jeu de Tarot, or the Tarot Nouveau. I'm sorry, yeah, Tarot Nouveau by Grimaud. And this is the copy from 1983. Looks like it has some sun bleaching there, so it must have sat on a shelf for a while. Well, that is the opening of some vintage cards that I've been dying to open. And thank you so much for being here with me for those. And I'll definitely be looking into using these. I love this Prager Tarot, and honestly I think the limited numbers 1 through 4 make it really great for a more pragmatic reading where you don't want to get too complicated with the numbers. And also the scenes of daily life in the Jeu de Tarot make it really great for practical readings as well. So I think these are both very readable decks, but also just great to have as collectibles. Thank you so much for joining me. I sure appreciate it. And I will talk to you next time.